Hello, everyone. My name is Quade Stone, and I will be presenting to you guys the sim. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into these two natural disasters. Both these natural disasters actually took place in a similar part of the country, being the southeast Gulf Coast area. Hurricane Katrina took place in New Orleans, Louisiana. Hurricane Harvey took place in Houston, Texas. Actually, Hurricane Katrina victims were seeking refuge in Houston. So this is pretty much a very similar neighborhood. The significant differences between the two disasters, though, was Katrina was classified as a Category 3 storm, and Hurricane Harvey was classified as a Category 4, making it just a little more intense. Now, reason being Katrina actually became a natural disaster was due to the catastrophic failure of the levee system that poured poured gallons and gallons of water into the city's infrastructure, where on the other hand, Hurricane Harvey was flooded Houston due to the unprecedented amount of rain flooding the city. So both took place in the southeast, but two different classifications and two different reasons. Now, while researching the state and federal relief efforts, I found quite a few similarities between the two natural disasters. Both natural disasters were declared state of emergencies, which enabled FEMA, DMAT, and Red Cross to both come to New Orleans and Houston, Texas. Highlighted in the red, I have on the right USAF, meaning the U.S. Air Force, which was actually deployed in Katrina as rescue efforts, unlike Harvey, that didn't take place. But the significant difference between the two was the response by DMAT. DMAT response and Katrina, the team members were out there just simply filling prescriptions of people who needed their medication, who had lost or forgot their prescriptions. On the other hand, DMAT's response in Houston was primarily to give people vaccinations for mosquitoes, and there were about 7 million acres of mosquitoes flowing, and to prevent a kind of a crisis, they rendered a lot of mosquito vaccinations. Other than that, both disasters kind of had this similar trickle down effects. Both cities suffered billions of dollars of infrastructure damage. Thousands of people were displaced, and majority of the deaths were attributed to storm surging and flooding. When it pertains to disaster recovery plans in place prior to to the disaster, both cities were prepared, just maybe Houston a little more than New Orleans. Don't get me wrong, Hurricane Katrina was prepared. The Louisiana Department of Transportation actually had a highway evacuation plan where they constructed highways and made them more accessible to people just in case of a levee malfunction, which they truly didn't expect. And on the other hand, Houston Houston's and well, the state of Texas, I would say the health department and hospitals were able to coordinate with each other to mobilize care and provide shelter. And on the slide, you can read to get more detail. Now, when it comes to most plans, there were some imperfections. So, on both sides of the fence, both Katrina and Harvey had problems and hurdles when it came to communication, organization, and coordination. So, on the Katrina side of the fence, to give you a little context about this quote, faith based organizations were the number one leading relief group, but unfortunately, legally, they aren't allowed to receive funding, and it affected the relief effort where some people were definitely left out. On the other side, Houston, which was well prepared, the state of Texas was well prepared. They had so many departments mobilized, but the communication and the allocation of resources actually hurt them. So they both plan on both sides of the fence. They plan to reestablish communication and procedure and definitely improve care. As far as contingency planning goes, I find this one quite interesting. Both being energy companies, one being Entergy located in New Orleans, Louisiana, and the other being Syngenta in Houston that endured Hurricane Harvey. Both companies were able to activate their contingency plans, which started at the top level management and they've trickled down all the way to entry level employees by aiding them with the most important asset they had at the time, which was communication. They were able to maintain communication through these natural disasters and effectively help one another and help employees within the company and actually restore full operating power after the storm had left. Response plans. Both the city of New Orleans and Houston were used similar tactics in their response plans when it came to providing shelter for those who no longer had homes due to the severe flooding. Both cities opened up their public arenas to provide shelter. Katrina, they used the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and Houston, they opened up a few more shelters, being public arenas such as the Brown Convention Center, Civic Convention Center, and actually the NRG Stadium, which was a part of Harris County's mass shelter response. In both natural disasters, emergency teams were at the ready. But the significant difference between the two is in Hurricane Katrina, faith based organizations actually were the best solution for the people as they were able to reach areas that national government and other agencies couldn't reach. On the other hand, the state of Texas was well prepared as far as resources and strategy. Now, the big question, were the disaster recovery attempts successful? I would have to say Katrina was not successful. The state of New Orleans was successful, and I would attribute that most to their unpreparedness for the actual natural disaster. Um, Frankly, I believe they had too much and the city is still suffering as we speak as far as infrastructure and their ability to raise funds. On the other hand, Hurricane Harvey was quite recently. The city's preparedness, the city's ultimately prepared for the storm, not having as many people displaced as Katrina. They seem to be restoring the community pretty well. It's the big difference between the two is preparedness, which Hurricane Harvey victims of Houston were prepared for, and Katrina victims weren't. But that wraps it up for me, guys. I just want to thank you and let's graduate.